It's possible that many of you actually already saw these features because, as we saw, browsers have to implement them before them being added to the standard. So they've been around for already a couple of months. So there are multiple Unicode-related utilities to make sure that your strings are like interoperable with other languages. You can check whether your strings have some properties that might otherwise be difficult to check if the browser doesn't provide built-in data for them. For example, have this new string is well-formed and well-formed. That checks whether your string is validity fit or not, so that you know you can store it in your database, or that you know that if you pass it to some other service, that will not break due to the, well, to the invalid encoding. And we need this because, as you may know, JavaScript uses UTF-16, which is a very weird way of encoding characters. Because well, UTF-16 uses 16 bits to encode characters, but sometimes it's not enough. For example, you have this smiley emoji that looks like a single character, and it is a single Unicode character, but JavaScript has to represent it using two separate pieces because it needs more than 16 bits. And so your string, which actually contains first a character that's like DA3D, followed by this DE0A. And these are called UTF-16 surrogates. They must always go together. And if you do not, your string will not be compatible with other systems. So if you're missing one of those two, for example, your database might crash when you try to save this there. And so this is where this is-well-formed utility comes. And then there is a to-well-formed utility that will just remove the invalid pieces in your string. And we have a new flag for regular expressions that's able to use this /p syntax to test for properties of strings. JavaScript already had a way of testing for properties of characters, so you could ask, is this character ASCII? Is this character a number in any language? And now this is extended to also test for strings. For example, here we have this little family that looks as a single character, but actually is a string containing 7 characters. And now we can also easily say, okay, do I have an emoji? And even if an emoji is not a single character, our regex will be able to say yes. And this new flag also supports set operations on regular expressions. So we could say, do we have an ASCII character, but excluding numbers from 0 to 9? We can do set intersection and union and well, I think symmetric difference, all the standard set operations. So that was one. We have different new utilities for working with raw memory and with multi-threading. So we use web workers to try to split work across multiple threads to make your web app faster. There is a new atomics.wait async. There was already atomics.wait that lets you block your thread until when some other thread is done computing some result. And with wait async, you can easily wait for the other thread without having to actually block. And we just return a promise that's resolved as soon as this other thread is done with whatever it was computing. We have resizable array buffers and growable shared array buffers. So you can, if you're working with a raw chunk of memory, you're maybe trying to code some data into it, you figure out, oh, this is not enough. You can now resize them. And you can now transfer array buffers across threads. So until before this proposal, if you had some chunk of memory, maybe that you read from the cell system, that you get from some I/O operation, the only way to pass it to a different thread, if it was not shared, was to just clone it, which means that you have 1 megabyte of data. Your runtime, your browsers will have to go and copy all of these bits for the whole megabyte in new thread. And now you can just transfer them as is by passing ownership to the other thread. And this greatly helps improving performance in this type of multi-thread applications. And all of these things are available already in most browsers. If you don't, well, except for we can see 2 of them are not yet available on Firefox, but they're being implemented, they will be available soon. So if you're only targeting new browsers, or if you're using polyfills, you'll be able to likely use this very soon. And we have other convenience methods like object.groupby and map.groupby that, well, lets you group arrays by some category. Like if I have these arrays of people with the country they live in, I could group them by country, and I get this object with saying, in Italy I have these items of the array, in Germany I have these other items. And this proposal is a very great example for what it means to not break the web. This is a very API. Usually you would have an array method, an array with like dot something, you call the method on it. Originally the proposal was array.prototype.goodby, but we shipped that, and we figured out there was some old version of some very popular library, maybe it was MooTools or Prototype.js, I'm not sure at this point, and that just broke. And this means that websites that were still using that library that was popular 15 years ago, they were like not working anymore. So we had to go back to the drawing board and figure out, okay, how do we change this? And so we moved the method to be a static method and object. And the map.groupby method does the same, but returns a map rather than an array. And we have promise with resolvers that gives you a different way of creating promises that might be useful when interacting with some non-promise-based APIs. It returns the promise and separately functions to resolve and reject it. That was it for ES 2024, but we also already have some ES 2025 features. These features have been approved. So we approved ES 2024 yesterday, but the deadline for adding new features is 60 days before. So for features approved after deadline, they will need to wait until the next ECMAScript version. But we just added new utility methods from working with sets. So you can do, for example, an intersection between two sets to know that, well, 123 and 135, the intersection is 13. Because like sets were introduced in ECMAScript 6 or ECMAScript 2015. That was, well, almost 10 years ago. And until now, the only thing you could do with sets was adding elements to them and checking whether they already contained an element or not. And so this gives all the common operations that like basically all other languages provide when working with sets. And again, these are already available in browsers. They're available in the latest version of browsers, so if you need to support more versions, you might need to wait a bit, but you will be able to use them very soon. Does anybody here already use any of these new features? Great. Good. Well, it's good that it's not been used yet, because like ideally, not all of your users are on the latest Chrome or Safari version. Okay, so this is what's coming now. But what about the future? We have all of these proposals, so what can we expect JavaScript to have in the next 3 years, 5 years, or maybe even 10 years? So we have something like, I think, 70 proposals. Not all of them will be added to the language, and it would be impossible for me to go through all of them now. Probably need like a full day at least. So I just picked a few of them based on what I'm personally excited about. But if you have your favorite proposals, if you want to just a status update about one of them, I would be very happy for you to just come to me and say, hey, I was promised these new JavaScript features 5 years ago. Why is it not there yet? So, okay, well, what am I excited about that's coming next to JavaScript? One of my favorite proposals, it's a stage 3, so it's almost done. It's just waiting for implementation to have shipped for long enough. And it's it's actually 2 proposals, import attributes and JSON imports, that when used together, they allow you to just have a JSON file somewhere and directly import it from your JavaScript. This is actually being shipped under a different syntax. It originally used the assert keyword and not the with keyword, both in Node and in Chrome, I think 1 or 2 years ago. So some of you might have already been using it. Just be careful that this old assert keyword, it was just experimental. For reasons we figured out that actually we do not want assert semantics here. So both Chrome and Node unshipped it. So if you were using it, make sure to go there and update your code to use with. And like this lets you directly import JSON in the browser without having to go through a bundler, like through some sort of JSON loader or having to manually fetch and then parse your JSON file. This is already implemented in Chrome and Safari with the new syntax. It's been implemented in Firefox, so this will hopefully be part of the next version of the language and will be hopefully reached stage 4 in the next few months.